folks, it's time for another easy open world build. Today's choice is Power Berserker and a very special variant of it. This build is based off the DPS build I made on the Guild Wars 2 wiki, so if you want to learn more about the basics of this build or double check some information, check out the written article or the complimentary video on the DPS rotation. The links are both in the description below. As usual for open world, we'll follow a particular priority list for survivability changes, starting from the DPS build for instance content. Changing gear is expensive unless you have legendary gear already, so we will adjust food, skills and traits first. Let's begin with increasing general survivability. The first major step to increase survivability is to use Might Makes Right and Forceful Greatsword in strength. On top of that, use the fried golden dumpling food for additional might on critical hits. The combination of these traits in strength and food will lead to massive amounts of might that you apply to yourself, and for each stack of might that you apply to yourself, you will heal yourself and gain endurance. You will also gain additional endurance whenever you hit with a burst skill, and the end of your dodge roll will damage enemies and give you might. Don't underestimate how powerful dodges are on this build. As a second step, I recommend using a Warhorn on the secondary weapon bar. The Warhorn allows you to maintain swiftness regardless of the trait choices you make and provides another source of area quickness through the skill charge. For a good trade-off between damage and survivability, it makes sense to swap out tactics for defense and make use of Jade protocols. Doing that will drastically increase your survivability and still include strong enough damage modifiers. First off, using defense will drastically increase the self-healing you gain through general health. This is a very strong passive heal, and the only thing you need to do for it is to use burst skills on cooldown to maintain 4 stacks. With defense, the damage you deal will scale with having weakness on enemies and stability on yourself due to Cull the Weak and Stalwart Strength. To apply weakness, the only thing you need to do is to use burst skills often enough. With Brave Stride and Stalwart Strength, you apply stability to yourself whenever you use a movement skill or disable an enemy. When it comes to survivability, defense has another great mechanism. Defy Pain will trigger on every cast of Headbutt and makes you immune to strike damage for a whopping 4 seconds every 20 seconds. That is pretty massive. If you have End of Dragons and want to solo harder content, I can only recommend to make use of Jade protocols. They give 150 permanent toughness, vitality, condition damage and power, as well as all boons aside from stability, resistance and resolution on entering combat. These effects can be pre-stacked by using an enchanted Snow Diamond tonic repeatedly when out of combat. The protection from this is another free massive gain to survivability. Part of getting around in open world is to cover good uptimes on essential boons both offensively and defensively. With the trait choices made in strength and using fried golden dumplings, you will cover most of the might stacks on your own. For a good uptime on quickness and fury on yourself and allies around you, swap to Heat the Soul in Berserker. This has a 5-second cooldown and will apply quickness and fury around you whenever you hit with a burst skill. To fully cover quickness on yourself, we will make use of the Warhorn, the utility skill Frenzy and X4 Dual Strike. If you use Wild Blow and X2 on cooldown, you will also cover fury on yourself. In terms of defensive boons, a Relic of Durability combined with the trait Thick Skin will enable you to maintain a decent uptime on protection on yourself. General mobility in open world, you can cover swiftness by using Warhorn 4 on cooldown. With Warhorn 5 you can also provide a 50% uptime on vigor for even more dodges. In case you don't want the hassle of reapplying Jade protocols, you can abuse the synergy between the Relic of the Cavalier and Blast from the Sky Scale to apply lots of Aegis, resistance, might and quickness to yourself. The Relic does not have an internal cooldown and applies all the boons on every hit of Blast. This also works with any other mount engaged when hitting multiple targets. Finally, let's talk about how to deal with conditions and incoming control effects. When it comes to cleansing conditions, you have several options. First off, Warhorn 5 cleanses 3 conditions off of you and allies around you, so swap to Warhorn whenever you need to cleanse conditions. If you need more frequent condition cleanses against bosses, swap to Cleansing Iron Defense. That will also give you Adrenaline whenever you get hit by an enemy. In case you have weakness, slow or blind on you, you can use Wild Blow. When it comes to stun breaks, 3 out of 5 of your utility skills are stun breaks. Both Outrage and Headbutt are kinda built into your rotation, so what you can do is you can save Frenzy for whenever you need a stun break. That will not only grant you additional quickness but also might, and through that it will heal you. If all of that is not enough, you can replace Frenzy with Shake It Off. That is both a stun break and cleanses conditions, so it does both. If you need to break Defiance bars, you can use both Headbutt and Wild Blow. Now, the great thing about Warrior is that you have so many different options. You can also use Discipline in open world, which feels great because of the higher adrenaline inflow from the trait Axe Mastery. That will also give you a native 25% movement speed increase while using melee weapons, and allows you to weapon swap twice as often, which is really nice. If you use defense, you can also use a hammer if you want. It's a really strong weapon on warrior that gives you lots of disables, making you benefit from the stability trait a lot more. That said, the deed is done for now. I hope this video was insightful for you and made you want to try Power Berserker. Feel free to like and subscribe for the YouTube algorithm, and happy raging.